Hi, this is Mrs. Reichelt, and we are moving into coloring the eye. So I would like you to pause this and take a minute to go ahead and color each of these sections. You'll have to color the lacrimal gland, the duct, the conjunctiva, the sclera, the cornea, the choroid, all of these things. I think that I even put in some diagrams. So this is how I colored all of them. It's up to you how you want to color them, but please make sure that you color each of the 3 diagrams that are labeled there. I want to make sure you have everything. You need to know the anatomy of an eye really, really well, especially as we get into doing our eye dissection. Okay, so there's 3 layers of the eye. You have the fibrous layer, the vascular layer, and the sensory layer. The fibrous layer is the first part. The fibrous layer is also called the outer layer, and this contains the sclera. So the sclera is the actual white connective tissue. Sometimes it's called the white of the eye. In addition, the fibrous layer contains the cornea. The cornea is transparent and it allows light to pass through the eye. The second part of the eye is the vascular layer. So the first was fibrous, second is vascular. This is the middle part of the eye. So this contains the choroid, which is a blood-rich pigment that prevents light from scattering. Okay, in addition, we have the ciliary body, which is the smooth muscle that's attached to the lens. The iris, and the iris is the part that regulates the amount of light that enters the eye, and it's also the pigmented layer of the eye, and the pupil is the rounded opening in the iris. Then the last part, which actually contains most of our notes here, is the sensory layer, or the inside of the eye. So the inside of the eye contains the retina, the lens, and the chambers of the eye. Okay, so the retina contains photoreceptors, which are the rods and cones. The signals pass from the photoreceptors through a 2-neuron chain. These are bipolar neurons. So if you remember back in the very beginning part of the chapter, we talked about a multipolar neuron, a bipolar neuron, and a unipolar neuron. So these are the bipolar neurons. And then signals leave the retina toward the brain through the optic nerve, except there's this blind spot, which one of our labs will kind of point out the blind spot of your eye. Okay, so the rods are found most towards the edge of the retina. This allows for dim vision or gray tones. And then cones are your color vision, okay, and they're present in the center of the retina. Okay, so now we're into the lens. The lens is a biconvex crystal structure, and it's held in place by this suspensory ligament. And when you actually go through and dissect your eye, you'll see that the lens is actually a really hard crystallized structure. There's 2 chambers in the eye. We have the anterior chamber, which contains the aqueous or the aqueous humor, and then the posterior chamber, which contains the vitreous humor. And then we have the anterior segment, which contains the aqueous humor. The aqueous humor is a watery fluid that's found between the lens and the cornea. It's similar to blood plasma, and so it really is watery. Okay, this maintains intraocular pressure, and it allows for nutrients for the lens and for the cornea. The posterior segment, on the other hand, deals with the vitreous humor, and this is really gel-like. I mean, it really does almost feel like hair gel or something. Okay, this is posterior to the lens. This helps to prevent the eye from collapsing, and it also maintains intraocular pressure.